Welcome along to Tweet Street Scotland Occupied, home of the satirical soul tire. I'm Cinnamon Bridges, aka Peter. With me tonight, we've got my co-host back for this. This has been a good run, mate. It's JB Whitesnake. All right, John, how you going, buddy?
Not bad, Peter. Good to see you once again.
Aye, and you, mate, and you. Right, so we've got a political special, right? We've got to term it the Magnificent Seven or Seven Up, what have you, because we've got 7 Alba candidates coming. A couple of incumbent councillors as well. We've got 2 of them, and we've got 5 who are running for council for the first time in various parts of Scotland. A lot of them for up the Aberdeen way, to be fair. We should have, I'll run down the names: Councillor Lee Wilson, Councillor Brian Toppin, Elaine Mitchell, Trish Macpherson, Charlotte Cross, Bill Cowan, and Stuart McClintock. Now, Stuart's been having some sound issues, so hopefully they'll resolve by the time we get round to his turn to answer. If no, we'll try and get Stuart on another wee podcast, because I've no been favouriteist or anything like that, but Stuart's the chap that's running in the ward that I live in, so I want to hear a wee bit from him. But first things first, we've got, as I say, 7 what I think cracking candidates, 2 incumbent councillors, but we're going to start with the youngest of this evening. Wee bit of background knowledge. It's Charlotte Cross is her name, right? She's got 2 parrots, right? One's called Theo and the other one's called Apple, right? Now, when we were doing a wee bit of chat, when we were like trying to arrange for coming on for the night, we were chatting about have you, and Charlotte told me that our parrots were squeaking. So I says, I think you better get them to the vet because they should be squawking. Is that not what parrots do? They squawk, mate, isn't it? But anyway, right, without further ado, we're going to introduce Charlotte Cross, who's going to tell us a wee bit about herself, why she chose to run for Alba, and the ward that she's running in, first of all. So, without further ado, we'll put Charlotte onto the main menu. And over to you, Charlotte.
I'm good, yeah. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks very much for joining us, first of all. So, just over to you, tell us who you are, why you chose Alba as to run for, and the ward that you're going to be running
in. So, yes, my name's Charlotte Cross, and I love animals. I love my dogs. I love my parrots as well, because they could be a bit noisy and annoying, but they're cracking. Got chickens as well. So I do like animals. I guess I'm just starting because I feel, as obviously my life as a female has been quite difficult in a number of ways. I used to live in West Africa when I was 11, so I had an experience of probably, as you could say, racism towards white people. It does happen, you know. It's something that does happen. And a lot of it was men being quite sexist towards me and my mum, you know, making us feel really uncomfortable. So from a very young age, I don't even think I'd started my periods then, you know, and I was getting like looked up and down by men. So I just think that if people have a problem with like females' rights and women's rights, it's usually because they must have a can't even describe it, just an agenda, really, because it's definitely lived, you know, it's a lived experience of many girls, you know, so it didn't just stop there. Obviously, when I came back here, just went through the normal things, the normal problems of just being a girl, and just academy and everything. So yeah, it's quite a I would say I've got quite into it in the last year, because I'd first seen it was a hate crime bill, came up in BBC News, and that women weren't, as a sex class, weren't added to this bill. And that really kind of upset me. So I came onto Twitter to try and find other people that might be upset by it, because as far as I could see, all the SNP supporters like myself all the rest of them seemed to not have a problem with it, you know, and start calling people like bigots and stuff on Facebook. So I had to find some like-minded people, and lo and behold, there was thousands of them. So that really, it was just made me want to stand for these girls, because they deserve it. going to be Central Buchan. So that covers Mintlaw, New Deer, I think Orknagat as well. Covers a few little villages. So I've got busy times ahead.
A lot of walking to do in between, aye.
Right.
Right, thanks very much for that for the minute, Charlotte. We're now going to go to Councillor Brian Toppin. Now, I believe that there's rumours that Brian is the longest serving councillor in Scotland. So, Councillor Toppin, over to you. Just tell us a bit about you, a wee bit about why you chose Alba and why you're still running at this time.
Thank you. Can I say it's a pleasure to be invited on to your show, so thank you very much for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
My name is Councillor Brian Toppin. I was first elected in 1984 to Buchan District Council, where I stayed until it finished. I was then fortunate enough to be elected to Grampian Regional Council in 1986, and again I was there until the single tier authority came, so it was actually a double councillor. The shadow year of Aberdeenshire, I was actually for 1 year a triple councillor. But anyway, I'm totally committed to Fraserburgh District, which is the area that I cover. It used to be Fraserburgh, it's now Fraserburgh District. It covers the whole of Fraserburgh, Memsey, Wreatham, Inveralty, Cairnbulg and Lawn May, and the hinterland as well. As I say, I'm totally dedicated to the town. I get involved in lots of voluntary things. I was over in food and care parks for 18 months, did music concerts for old folks' homes and shelter housing, etc. The reason, can I say, I was a member of the SNP for 40 years, and as I say, at the time it was like a lot of us. I mean, I live and breathe for Scotland being a normal little independent country, making our own decisions. And as I say, so being an SNP councillor 38 years, well, 37 and a bit years, but I was getting disillusioned. While they did some wonderful things in my estimation, you know, free bus passes, free prescriptions, the new bridge over the Forth, you know, fine. But as I say, as time went on, I felt that the SNP were not fighting for the very cause of his existence, which was to push for independence. So they've had a mandate on at least 3 occasions. We're all aware, none more than probably all the panelists here tonight, that COVID is vitally important. But the fact that, as I say, independence had been totally forgotten about, they've had a mandate. A lot of the public and people like myself were very, very frustrated, in fact, quite angry. The fact that, you know, all the people who put their trust in them, things like the single gender ID recognition. I think women's rights are so vitally important. Maybe touch a bit on that later on. I was actually given a phone call from none other than the Right Honourable Alex Salmond, who actually lives in Charlotte's Ward, Central Buchan, asking me to stand on the North East list. And again, I had no hesitation. And I think the thing was that, you know, we are actually promoted vote SNP for your constituency, but vote Alba, and it was all about getting a supermajority to get more, you know, a large number of independence-minded MSPs to send a strong message to Boris Johnson and his Tory government. And so I stood, but unfortunately, the day after I did a short video, I'd been unwell for a while, ended up being rushed to hospital, nearly died. If I probably had to take the hospital, I told I wouldn't be here. So sadly, I was actually in hospital for the whole campaign, including the count. I'm sort of fighting for it now, and as I say, to me, Alba stand for so many things that I very, very much believe in. And the number of people who have left the SNP, people I was speaking to today while out delivering leaflets, said, oh, that's not an SNP leaflet, is it? I said, well, no. Well, yes, it is. I said, no, it's not. They said, well, I'm fed up at the SNP. I voted for them all my life. I said, well, you'll be glad to hear it's an Alba leaflet, and, you know, please take time to read it. So I think a lot of the policies, in just over a year we've been in existence, we've got some fantastic policies that mean a lot to ordinary people and to local businesses and that as well. And as I say, there's so many good things. and our determination is to fight for what we believe in, and that is to have a normal little independent country.
Thank you so much, Brian. That was lovely actually to hear all that. Actually, thank you so much. Right, we're going to move now because there was a wee musical link there. Brian said something about music. I believe you do a wee bit of DJing, Brian. Is that right?
Yeah, a DJ for a long time, doing kiddies parties, weddings. A lot of things I tend to do was voluntary things like raise money for local schools, old folks' home, doing their shelter housing, doing their Christmas party for over 30 years. Again, no charge. The Blue Light Festival, the Life of Open Days, Beach Festival, Super Saturdays, Market Stall, you know, all these things. Again, just doing it because I just love, being part of the community. There's many other people do voluntary things. I'm no different from anyone else, but I think being committed and willing just to step in and support your local community, I think it's so rewarding in itself.
Oh, definitely. I love the fact that you actually still keep in with the community. JB, what do you think about that? There we go. Brian's doing the disco once we get independence. He's sorting out the party and that, sorting out the music. What do you think of that, JB?
Some white snake on the go.
What was that, buddy?
As long as he's got some white snake in his repertoire.
It's that as long as I play some good tunes. I was also actually a radio presenter in local community radio for 20 years, but that's now sadly had to go by the wayside for lack of funding.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry to hear that. Right, well, we'll talk about the musical link. We're going to move now to somebody else that's got a wee bit of musical talent and plays the bagpipes, so I'm hearing. So, is there anybody here that plays the bagpipes other than Elaine? Elaine Mitchell. Hiya, thank you very much for joining us on Tweet Street, first of all. And I want you just to tell us, just the same as Brian and Charlotte, a wee bit about yourself, why you chose Alba, and what ward you're running in, please.
Hi, Pete. Thanks for inviting me onto the show. It's a pleasure to be here as well. So my name is Elaine Mitchell. I'm standing in West Geary Ward, which is Ward 10 in Aberdeenshire. And for those that don't know this area, it's where the Glens of Fowland are, where is one of the first roads in Scotland to be blocked with snow, all down the A96, taking in all the wee villages en route, bypassing Inverurie, but going down as far as Kemnay. So I have two biggish towns, Kemnay and Inch, with lots of farmland in between and lots of tiny little places in between. So it's a vast geographical area to try and cover. Lots of it is quite hard to cover because there's no parking spaces on the side of the road. So you really need a driver and a runner running in and out. So I'm standing this time for Alba. I've stood before with the SNP. The ward that I'm in only gets 3 councillors. So it's Tory land really, and Lib Dems have got quite a strong hold. So the third candidate is usually SNP. So this time it's myself who lives in the ward. The SNP candidate doesn't live in the ward, and there's a few others. I think there's 8 standing in total, so 3 places out of 8. Be very hard, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Yeah, I play the pipes. You haven't heard me playing, so maybe that's a good thing. I play with a well-recognised pipe band, but I can't advertise them because they don't necessarily support the party that I'm with. They support independence. So that's what I'll say. I also play the fiddle. I'm not on the fiddle, but I play the fiddle. I've only done that for about 12 years. Thought I was getting too old for piping, so thought fiddling would be easy. Oh my God, piping is far easier, let me tell you. So most of my career has been in the caring sector. I worked for the NHS initially as a nurse, trained in Aberdeen, and then I moved down to Lanarkshire to train as a midwife out of Bells Hill. I'm a big football fan and I support a team down that side. I'm happy. That's all I'll say. I then moved to London to work as a midwife before travelling overseas. Worked in Australia for nearly 4 years, worked with the Flying Doctor out in Alice Springs, so worked with the Indigenous population there, which was really interesting. I've had a few pictures just pop up in my Facebook thread this week of me being out bush playing the pipes, coming out of the Flying Doctor plane. So that was quite interesting that they came out this week. I came back to the UK because my midwifery refresher was due, so I wanted to keep that going. And I had a wee spell in Romania after the revolution, looking after children with AIDS and HIV. And then I returned to London, returned back to Scotland, probably wanted to go to the West, but there weren't any jobs at that time for midwives. So I came back to Aberdeen with a view that I was getting back up the ladder, because in London I had a senior post. When I came back to Aberdeen, because I hadn't done my midwifery here, I had to start at the beginning, and I worked my way up to being an advanced practitioner, which I really enjoyed. I was very supportive of women that wanted to breastfeed, women, adult human, female, wanting to breastfeed, not chest feed. And I was involved in a lot of policy documentation, review groups, and I'm dismayed that women are being removed. The name woman is being removed. The name breastfeeding is being removed. It's now being replaced by chest feeding, and I'm appalled by that, because the meaning of midwife is with women, and I'll always stand up for women for that reason. What else have I done? That's probably enough. I've done loads of volunteer work as well. I retired from full-time work about 6 years ago, and I did a lot of voluntary work with homeless people, feeding people on the streets, food banks. Again, I was appalled at the need for the food banks, because I live in a fairly wealthy area. I also did home checking for spaniel assist. I'm an animal lover as well, and there might be an appearance of one of my animals. They usually make an appearance, not to command, just at their discretion. And then when the pandemic struck, I decided, because I had the skills, I would go back and assist with the NHS. So I answered the pandemic call and went back on the temporary register. So I've been vaccinating people in Aberdeen and helping track and trace. So that's me in a nutshell.
So, in a nutshell, must be a big nutshell. So you're well-travelled, determined, musical, thoughtful, animal lover, by the sounds of. That's the kind of a counsellor that I think I'd be wanting, somebody that had all the traits. I'm going to ask you something else. As soon as you play the pipes, you might want to try and get them close by you for the end of the show, and you can maybe play us out with a wee tune or something like that. But we'll move on for the minute, Elaine. Thank you very much. We'll move on. Next up, we'll speak with Bill Cowan. Same to yourself, Bill. Just who you are, why you chose Alba, and the ward that you're going to be running in, please.
Okay, thank you. I'm Bill Cowan, obviously. I'm standing for Alba in the Dunblane and Bridge of Allen ward of Stirling District Authority. Personally, I've had a very varied career. I had my own stock taking, that's stock taking, not stock broking, by the way, company for many years. When I first moved to Dunblane in 1997, after coming back from Australia, I set up the company and ran it until 2009, when my disability began to be just too much for me to do the actual physical work. But I handed it on to my best employee, and she ran it again right up until 2020, when COVID would just have killed it, because it was mostly pubs, clubs, hotels that were doing stock taking in. Before that, as I say, I was in Australia for 5 years at that time, and I was the estate manager for the biggest stock taking company in Australia. Back in Scotland, I had my own hotel for some time, managed hotels, restaurants, and things like that. But that's basically where I've got a wide variety of stuff. I was in Australia in the 70s as well. It's the 90s. It's just one of these things where, and Elaine will probably understand this, wherever you are, you're homesick for the other. And it's just a curse of the exile and emigre. So I miss Australia badly, and when I was out there, I missed here badly. So you just got to live with it. Politically, well, I was in the SNP for very close to 50 years. I joined in 1974 and gave up on the day that Alba was established this year. I delivered my first SNP leaflet in 1965 when I was still a schoolboy. And so I'll go back a fair wee bit, maybe even further back than Brian. I stood for council in 1977, so unsuccessfully. But so that's basically my own history. Why Alba? Well, being in SNP over the past 2 or 3 years has been, or was, very disheartening and disappointing. We got absolutely, your own say was taken further away from you. You were basically just taking what you were told from on high. Any complaints or anything you tried to comment, you were just ignored completely. And I'm quite sure everybody that was in SNP will have had the same experience. And then they just went off the rails with the hate speech law and the GRA. It's just totally anathema to me. I mean, a woman is an adult human female. End of story. So I've got no problem answering that question. I'm quite sure some of my colleagues that are standing in Dunblane, there's 10 candidates here, unfortunately, but there are 4 seats. So there is a possibility of us taking the 4th seat, depending on how it goes. Just a possibility. We'll see on the day. I'll do my best. But so that's basically me. There's a lot of local things that I won't go into, but they'll burn my leaflet locally. Quite a few things, Dunblane, Bridge Island, just the usual stuff, developments, roads, transport, the whole thing. But as I say, I've lived in Dunblane for 25 years, so I know pretty much what is going on here and what folk talk about in the pubs and such like. So I think I'll do fairly well if elected. And that's basically me so far. Any further questions down the line?
Aye,
Happy to answer.
That's that. I'll do it for this one, mate. We'll get you on the next round. And we'll go now. I'm going to ask Stuart McClintock to actually come on. Oh, there we go. Even we get sound and everything.
I'm actually on a mobile phone because I couldn't get the computer working.
Right. So Stuart, just straight in about it. You're going to be. Hopefully, you're going to be the councillor for my ward.
My name is Stuart McClintock. Yeah. I'm a qualified electrician. I've been doing electrics since '92. I've been in the SNP for a while. I was active in the SNP. I don't feel as if I left the SNP. I feel as if the SNP left me. Right. I joined Alba on the day Alex Salmond announced it. Right. Because in my opinion, the SNP became like, this will appeal to Star Trek fans. Right. It's like they'll want you to be a Borg and assimilated into collective and have group speak. Right. There's no space for individualism in the SNP. So that's why I'm no longer in the SNP, right? Because all the GRA things, all the taking the powers away from the local branches, all that stuff it's like chipping away bit by bit like a block of ice until you're left with some water. You know what I mean? That's what did it for me. So I've got 4 kids. I'm actually surprised it's so quiet at the moment because they've all disappeared. Because they know I'm recording, so it's actually a blessing. And life's not too bad. What interests me is like I've got a couple of kids that are disabled, disabled rights, things like that. My son's blind. Pavement parking is one of my pet hates. The Scottish Government have introduced something about that, but nothing's happening about it. You know, they seem to, as far as Alba goes, right, Alba is like the way the SNP used to be, right? When other people were leading Alba, to put it politely, right? The first thing the SNP thought in the morning was independence. How can we become independent? How can we further independence, right? And that's exactly the reason I'm in Alba. We don't get up in Alba. If Alba ever got up in the morning and started being devolutionists, I would leave them. I mean, but Alba support independence, and that's in their very core. You know, so a stick of rock, if you cut them in half, you'll see the words independence on the side. You know, that's why I'm Alba, because all roads lead to independence. If we don't get independence soon, game's a bogey. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I just can't believe we're living in a country with so much energy potential and people are basically freezing to death, can't afford to put the heating on, they can't afford to heat or eat. It's one or the other, for sometimes none, you know. So that's about it in a nutshell, really.
What's the name of this ward then, Stuart? So that I know.
The word's Kilmarnock South. right? It's Ward 2 apparently, but it's Kilmarnock South. It's basically the bottom half of Kilmarnock.
Aye, good. Well, I was out, I done a wee bit of leaflet delivery with your Kilmarnock North counterpart, Wendy McDonald.
Yeah.
And we'll try to arrange getting you on, because there's 4 votes in this house, mate.
Aye.
So hopefully there's 4 votes in this house going towards Alba. So hopefully that counts towards a good total for you and gets you elected.
One thing I noticed about the way the maths worked in the seats last time, right? There's a really popular guy who's provost here, who's a lovely guy and he's fantastic, right? And he's going to take a high portion of the first preference votes, right? Because he wasn't going to stand, now he's standing. And I thought, oh, goodness gracious. And I thought, it was pointed out to me, that's actually a good thing. Because if he takes 40 or 50% of the vote, right, it means that there's the rest of the votes are shared between 4 or 5 people. To me, it's like magic and smoke and mirrors.
Just the way that Westminster introduced it, that's what they wanted, magic, smoke and mirrors. Right, well, we'll come back to you in a wee while then, Stuart. Thanks very much for the new. We're going to go to Councillor Lee Wilson next. So,
thank you, Peter. One of the things about coming towards the end of any panel discussion is everybody else has said the things you want to say. But it's interesting, you mentioned at the beginning, we've got a magnificent 7 candidates in the panel tonight. Well, in Aberdeenshire, we've got a magnificent 7 candidates in total. So in terms of the ward that I'm seeking re-election for, my ward is the Mearns. And if you know Aberdeenshire at all, the Mearns is in the deep south of Aberdeenshire. So it's the link to Angus and to further afield. But it's a beautiful part of the country. Historically, it's a very important part of the country. Lewis Grassett Gibbon, of course, wrote Sunset Song from my ward. So I've got some great literature references in my ward too. But no, my journey from initially the SNP to Alba is an interesting one in that, like I think most of the people on the call tonight, I joined Alba on the day it was formed. But unlike some of the other people on the call, I actually left the SNP a year prior to that. And I'm very conscious of the fact that, you know, I don't want Alba to be the anti-SNP party. I want Alba to be the pro-Alba party. And I think we've done that very well over the recent few weeks with the Blue Book launch. And I think that's shaped the focus away from Alba being against the SNP and focusing entirely what the SNP were doing to, here, look, here's a prospectus for an independent Scotland. Here's the ideas we want to put forward. But just on that point, I think it was interesting to note that one of the reasons I left the SNP was a couple of things, but one was the intolerance of debate. I think, you know, we're all Democrats here, but any democratic institution, when you can't even debate things, I think you're in trouble. But secondly, the lack of ideas, certainly post 2014. I didn't see the vision from the SNP that I think its hegemonic status in Parliament should have given it. They are so dominant in Parliament now, both in Westminster and in the Scottish Parliament. They should have a carnival of ideas to bring forward to the people of Scotland to say, look, this is a prospectus for our independence vision. This is how we get there. This is the mechanics of it. This is the nuts and bolts. These are our policies in X, Y, and Z. That's not happened, and I think that is quite disappointing. What's been really heartening, however, is Alba's been filling in the dots. And look, in these council elections, I'm not going to suggest that we're going to sweep the boards, but I think we'll make an impact. And what I do think we'll do is upset some people in May. We'll upset some odds. And the key role, I think, for Alba is to be that party of ideas. If the government of Scotland, if the largest party of independence aren't providing those ideas, then Alba should be. And we're doing that with the wee Blue Book. We'll be doing that in all the town hall meetings we're holding between now and the 5th of May. And we'll be doing that once we elect councillors across Scotland.
Thank you very much, Lee. Right, and last but by no means least, we're going to go to Trish Macpherson. We had Trish on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, but she's part of the Aberdeen Magnificent Seven that Lee was talking about. I'll try and get the other 2 that I didn't get this evening over the course of the next week or so. But Trish, just you're on mute, so you'll just need to unmute yourself first of all and tell us a wee bit about yourself, your Alba connection, and also the word that you're running in, please.
Hi, Peter. Thanks very much for letting me elbow my way through
Oh, you're welcome.
tonight. I heard that all my Northeast buddies were going to be on, and I felt a bit like Billy No Mates. So I sent Peter a wee message saying, please, can I come? And he replied and said to me, of course you can come, Billy. Here I am. I'm Trish Macpherson. I'm standing in the Aberdeenshire Ward 5. The name of my ward is Peterhead North and Rattray. About myself, I was born in Glasgow a long time ago. And I'm actually I was born in Govan. So I actually do have Rapsy Nesbitt's autograph in his book. I love Govan. Great people, great history, great. I think that's probably where I've got my political stance from. You know, the people of Glasgow in particular, and in Govan, they don't like a lack of democracy, and they never have done.
No.
And when something's not right, they'll call it out. So I think that's where I get my sense of not being prepared to just sit down and shut up. Latterly, we moved, I think it was in the 1980s, we moved up to Aberdeenshire for work. And my partner wanted to get some work in the offshore industry because this place was just absolutely booming. And we kept hearing these stories about all these guys earning all this money, doing all sorts of different jobs to do with the oil industry. The place was just jumping. And when they say the salaries at that time, or the kind of wages that you would command in Glasgow at that time, would have been something like, I don't know, for a working man, if he was lucky, maybe 150, 200 pounds a week. Whereas up here in the Northeast, it seemed to be that they were getting 800 or 1,000 pounds a week. So we wanted to have a better standard of living. Obviously, we had a young child, and we'd grown up in poverty, and we've seen a way of getting out of it, and it was this place up here expanding and becoming, well, Aberdeen becoming the oil capital of Europe. So that was the attraction for us. It seemed to be a lovely way of life up here. The skies are so big and so blue, and the seas it's just an absolutely fantastic place. There are loads of wee villages, so romantic, it's just gorgeous. A lot of great history here too, particularly Jacobite history, which I've been learning about quite recently. A lot of interesting stuff there, particularly to do with Peterhead. I need to find out more. I don't know enough about my own history, like us all. I was also in the SNP, not for as long as these other guys that have been on, and I wasn't, I never stood as a councillor. I voted SNP since Margot came in Govan, 1979, the year I was leaving school. Great inspiration for me. And when I look now to young girls in Glasgow and what they're looking at as their role model in politics, and it's really not the same thing at all. It's really quite disappointing, and I can't hide the fact that Nicola could have had it all, and she's ruined her future as far as she's concerned. But like everyone else, when the Alba Party came on the scene, and when Alex Salmond was released from all the knots that they tried to tie him up in, I joined the Alba party also on the day it was formed. It was difficult trying to get through on the internet to get signed up because everybody else in Scotland was on there. But I'm glad I persevered, and here I am. I decided to stand because, as I say, I was in the SNP laterally, but just as an ordinary member, I didn't have any kind of role within the SNP. But I was a member, and I'd got in touch with the local constituency party and said, hey guys, what's happening with independence? I'd like to be more involved. I'd like to see something happening. And I didn't get any reply. And I tried another couple of times. Eventually I did manage to get through to someone, and he said, yeah, we'll be in touch. The next time I heard from him was about 3 months later, when this guy sent me an email and said, I know we've never met before, but I know your name and I know where you stay because you filled in your membership details. But I noticed that online, Alex Salmond had posted some things on his Twitter page. And I might be wrong, I might be barking up the wrong tree, but someone with the same name from the same area has been seen in a photograph with Alex Salmond. Now, if this is you, then we've got a problem. You can't be a member of our party and also be seen publicly promoting someone from another party. And I thought, okay then. I sent him I considered my response over a few days, and eventually I managed to stop my rage and respond to the guy, and thanked him very much for letting me know what his position was, but that I would take up his very kind offer for me to resign my membership of the SNP for the absolute horror of being caught in a photograph with someone who used to be the First Minister of Scotland. And that's where I am today. So if I can come up against that guy and let him see what Scotland has got to offer, as Lee was saying, with the absolutely fantastic ideas, the vision that we've got in the wee Alba book, then I will be absolutely delighted, and I'm so chuffed to get the chance.
Oh, as with yourself and the rest of the candidates that are on, I wish you nothing but good luck. Right, JB, me and you are going to get pinned to the screen here for a wee second, and we're going to have a wee chat. Right, that's just the introduction. What do you think of that, mate?
Very interesting. It's refreshing to hear so many people talking about Scotland today and what's happening. And it rings a bell with a lot of people who've put a lot of hard work into the SNP in the past and just feel very disillusioned at where they are presently and where they're going in the future. And just as Trish was saying there, that's just blooming pathetic, to be honest with you. They were on about it. So it's refreshing these people have still got the vim and the vigour to come across to Alba and put their hopes and dreams into that, and hopefully push Scotland towards independence. And as people have already said, if you're interested in Scottish independence, that's first, second and third. And we can't do nothing until we've got independence. So that should always be the focus. So it's heartening to hear these people have still got that in their hearts and minds.
Right, well, just before we get you to ask your question, let's have a wee look. Maybe this might actually give you a different idea for a question. Wee screen share here.
Yeah, I've seen that.
This pissed me off the other day, JB, if I'm honest, mate. Because that, like, we've already heard from some of the candidates saying how many councillors are in their ward. Now, if you follow that, you're going to have unionists.
That's right. Yeah.
You're going to have unionists coming in, and more unionists than independents supporting councillors, which means then that our councillors are all got to be tied up with UK bureaucracy. I mean,
Well,
without swearing, what are the SNP effing thinking, man?
Well, it's. I think you've got to look at the way, Peter, that's they're drunk on power. Let's put it that way. They don't. They want unionists there because unionists make them look good, and they want the power. They want to keep the power. Let's be honest. They want to keep the range of it. They don't want MD muscling in and what they say is their show. Even though a lot of people in Scotland are now very disheartened in what they're doing. And I've been on YouTube a lot. I watch lots of different crap on YouTube, history and lots of other guff. But Labour are on. Every time I go into YouTube, I get interrupted by an advert for the bloody Labour Party. And I saw working on talking a lot of guff about the NHS and everything else, and it just makes my stomach turn and think, well, we want people like him and his lot in basically selling us down the river. So we need more independence-minded candidates and parties in place, not just turn into a one-stop shop that the SNP control the narrative and keep problems jammed in the limelight. It's not good enough. It's a power grab. They just want all the power. They don't want to even think about letting other people in that might have better ideas than them, because they've basically dried up their ideas at present.
And it's no fair on folk like us, John, and folk like the candidates that took the time out and take the time out to come on to calls like this to get a message out. It's no fair on Scotland. Like that's a unionist trait. Well, I mean, what the like without swearing?
Funny enough, I ran into a wee guy that I've known for about 5 or 6 years now. This wee guy is still an SNP guy. He votes for them, and this wee man, he must be in his 60s. I bump into him now and again down the town when I'm doing shopping and stuff. And I went out leafleting him with him 2014 and the elections after that for the SNP. And I mean, this guy was 20 years older than me, and basically I was struggling to keep up with him. I was falling over folks' garden fences trying to keep up with this guy. And he's still going about with his wee yellow overcoat on with SNP written on it. And I've a lot of time for the wee man because he's very intelligent. And as much as people can understand, are very disappointed. As far as I'm concerned, he's a wee starlight. He still believes he will deliver independence next year. And I say, well, I hope you're right and I'm wrong. And I'll gladly take you and buy your pint, mate. But I'm just concerned with so many others. Independence is not even on the horizon. Like Nicola Sturgeon only mentions independence when there's the election coming up. And she says, oh, Scotland needs independence. You just say, well, how do you intend to get Scotland independence? Don't just use it as a strap line and they'll deliver on it, like, you know. So so I wish them well, and I said I'd see him about because he runs about I think he spends about 4 or 5 nights a week sticking leaflets through the door. And good luck to the wee man, like, but there's still a lot of good people in the SNP, but the SNP are badly letting down people, casual supporters and former members. And that's what Alba bring to the table, Peter. They bring a freshness to the table, a different way of thinking, and put independence front and centre, along with poverty and other issues that Scotland is getting swamped with. We're getting swamped with taxes and poverty and enforced that state poverty. That's what we're getting hit with, Peter. Gas and electric bills we can't pay. We can't go to the bloody shop. Every time you get in the bloody shop, something's getting dearer. That's all right for folk with plenty of money still, but hey, there's plenty of us that didn't have the money to do that. Well, now you go to do your shop and think, oh, I can't afford that, I'll deal with that. And these are the issues that matter to people. And I'm sure the candidates will tell me that people are feeding back to them that today, that what they get to tell locally. How can I pay for my gas? How can I pay for my electric? How do I pay for my kids' food or my food or everything else? I'm sure that's what people are worried about. And ultimately, independence is a way out of poverty. And that's the only way we're going to get out of poverty.
Absolutely. Right. So before you ask your question, I'll do another wee screen share here. It looks as the typical SNP, the big carrot. No, they've got people running who as candidates who have been suspended for the Commons over tweeting advocating armed violence against women. They're not really in a good place, the SNP, as far as I'm concerned. And if we take account of what all the candidates that we've had on have said, ex-SNP members who have made the move at the formation of the Alba party because of the belief that they've got in it. As I say, I never ever thought I was going to join a political party, JB, and I probably wouldn't have had it not been for Nicola Sturgeon in our no-fly zone. I mean, the only two people that I've heard during this crisis in Ukraine asking for a no-fly zone are the Ukrainian Prime Minister Zelensky and Nicola Sturgeon. I mean, I had to do something to register my displeasure with Nicola Sturgeon. And obviously, we do these podcasts and we talk to people for ISP. We've spoke to people for Alba. We've had a couple of SNP still members who are thinking about leaving, by the way. But we've tried to kind of get a variance, independence-minded folk that want to push that independence message. And I've seen that with Alba. I've seen the stance that they've taken with their anti-poverty messages, the 5-point poverty plan. And it's all things that excite me, because that's the things I want to improve about Scotland, are all the things that Alba are trying to introduce and trying to immediately improve. For folk like myself and yourself, John, that are on the bottom rung of the ladder, and in some cases not even on the bottom rung of the ladder, just from trying to get a foot up. So what's your question for the candidates then, mate?
The first question would be, it's obviously we were just talking about poverty. What local issues are you campaigning on, and what are people telling you?
Right, and we'll just go down the room the way we started. So Charlotte, we'll pin you on first, pal.
Okay, yeah, poverty is definitely a big issue around the northeast of Scotland at the moment. Ourselves, we're kind of feeling it ourselves. We're in quite a lot of debt for, I think it's electricity. I'm not even sure if I should be saying this on live, but it's been really difficult to try and keep up with the gas and electricity at the moment, and that was before it just went through the roof again, you know. And something I'm really struggling with at the moment, and I can just only imagine people with children and children especially, but also let's not forget the people who, you know, some people have to live themselves. They're also struggling at the moment, and I think a lot of the time poverty stuff is only focused on people with children, but we need to kind of widen that as well for everybody. You know, nobody should be living in poverty, getting cold, no food, stuff like that. So it's I think it's a big 5-point plan for family poverty for Alba.
Thanks very much, Charlotte. And we'll come back to Councillor Brian.
Thanks for the question. Yeah, apart from local issues, poverty is a massive thing. It's affecting. You talk about, you know, the working poor. I think really now we're talking about almost everybody, apart from the well-off folk are probably mostly Tories, I would think. But no, I mean, I filled up my car with diesel the other day. And normally, you've always got a wee bit in your tank anyway. You top up maybe £50. Topped up the other day, over £80. So fuel, and of course, everything we buy is dearer. I even bought, say, stone chips for my garden a couple of months ago, and they used to be £6.45. It's now £10.95. I mean, everything we buy. My wife works at a shop around the corner from her house. Everything is you know, it's not double, but it's gone up a lot. What my very, very good friend and colleague Lee Wilson, as I say, we're the first ever Alba group on a local authority in Scotland, as far as we know. And at the council setting, you know, when you set the council tax, now the administration in Aberdeenshire has, for the majority of the time, been Conservatives, Lib Dems, and people who stand as independents. They stand as an independent, saying no time for politics and local government, but they form a group, they call themselves the Aligned Independents, and then, of course, get some nice sweeties from the administration. So they actually join the administration. So much for being stand as independent. But anyway, they put forward a proposal for a 3% increase in the council tax. The SNP, they're known as the partnership, includes one Labour who's now defected and become independent, but and one other independent. So it's largely SNP. They also put forward a 3% increase in the council tax, and the Digs, which is one Green and one independent councillor, known as the Democratic Independent Green Group, they put forward, I think it was 5.5%. Now, Lee and I, in our group, we put forward a council tax freeze, like many other Alba councillors on councillors put it forward. We actually got 5 votes, believe it or not. I don't know if someone voted the wrong way or not. But what we did, as you all know, you know the old saying, you hear your granny in the past saying, always keep money passed for a rainy day. You might get a big bill for your car repair or whatever. Now, Aberdeenshire Council has, and I'm sure Lee will correct me if I'm wrong, because we worked tremendously hard on the setting of the council tax. The Aberdeenshire Council has something like £79.5 million in reserves. Now, we all know you need money, maybe a bad winter, lots of extra money for various things can come, you might need it for, especially with COVID. A lot of materials for improving houses now are more expensive. So we thought, folk are living in poverty, folk are wondering, do we heat or eat? Or as one of your panelists said, sometimes you maybe can't do that either. Mm-hmm. We thought, why sit with £79.5 million when folk are going to be struggling? People lost their jobs because of COVID, etc., etc. Heating bills, gas bills, everything you buy in the shop, up. So we thought, right, we're going to put forward a council tax freeze. We got 5 votes out of 70. So obviously we got beat. But that's how sincere that we are in Alba. We want to help ordinary people. And as I say, so we were obviously very dismayed. We didn't think we'd win, but as I say, we say what we believe in. I think really, as I say, I think it's shameful for other councils. Now I know that Alex Salmond and also Ken McCaskill, who's coming up to St Fergus, I'm sure Trish might tell you about it, coming up on Wednesday. But as I say, I think that's all I really want to say just now. But as I say, I think it is really quite unbelievable, the situation. And as I say, oh yes, I was going to say, they actually wrote to Kate Forbes, the finance minister, as part of the Scottish Government, asking them to freeze the council tax, which they did, I think, quite successfully. Most people would say for 7 years in a row they froze the council tax. They gave local authorities the money to allow that to happen. We asked for that, we pleaded for that, they said no. So that's why we and I in Alba, Aberdeenshire Group and Aberdeenshire Council say, right, if they're not going to do it, we'll put forward our proposal. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Brian. Thank you. And we're going to come back to Elaine Mitchell next.
Yeah, obviously, sorry, my internet's unstable. Obviously, I'm totally supportive of a council tax freeze. I'm on some women's local groups, and I see mums posting on Facebook saying that they haven't got a nappy to put on their baby. Their baby's wearing rags of clothes, towels, because they don't have money to put a nappy on them. They don't have milk for babies. We haven't really pushed and promoted women to breastfeed. We're one of the lowest rates in Europe, and we still advertise baby formula. Now, there's been studies done in countries, well, Dundee actually was one, where women were given incentives to breastfeed and babies were breastfed till about 6 months. Norway have done the same and they've improved their breastfeeding rates. Now, breast milk is free. Not everyone can do it, not everyone chooses to do it, but that is the best nourishment for your baby in the first start of its life. So our Scottish Government should be promoting that, but no, these baby milk companies obviously make a lot of money out of selling formula. And one of the reasons that I would say that these things are advertised in maternity hospitals or in baby books is because of the money side of it. So I think that's horrific that people are choosing in the food banks to ask for cereals or cold food because they've got no money to fire up the gas or the electric when they're home, so they can't actually cook hot meals. Every time school holidays comes around, people are saying, are the kids still going to get their meals during the holidays? Because, if they're getting their meals, then I can put money in the electric meter. If they're not getting their meals, then I'm going to have to feed them and we'll just have to wear more clothes. This is this is 2022. This is absolutely shocking in such an energy resource country. And poor elderly people, they don't know what's happening with them. We've all been forced by these energy giants to get smart meters installed in our homes. And that, to me, I don't have one because of where I live. I'm in a black spot. But surely the idea of that is so you don't really get into an arrears with your electric bills. However, I've just helped an 86-year-old try to make sense of his recent rise. His rise is more than £100 per month. He's a pensioner. He had a smart meter. When I looked at his meter readings on his bill 10 days ago, it showed that he was in a positive balance. When the 31st of March passed, he's now nearly £400 in debit. So he doesn't understand that, and I don't understand it either. And as an elderly gentleman, he was unable totally to do this online. He can't speak to anybody. It's all online. It's all pressing buttons. The person asked me to use their bank details to pay the bill, which I did. But then it sent a message to his mobile phone. The person's deaf. He couldn't hear what they were saying, and the code had to be used within a specific period of time. People of that generation are not able to do this. I struggled with it. That generation are just being, sold down the river as far as I'm concerned. And it's heartbreaking. The pandemic has caused a lot of issues, obviously. Loneliness, people have lost cognitive ability because they haven't seen people. When they do see people, people have got masks on, they don't know what they're saying. It's just been a terrible time, and it's high time that things were all done locally instead of being centralised, because that's what this government are doing. They want the social care to be all centralised. Actually, Aberdeenshire has got a pretty good social care agenda, but not if it's going to be centralised, because like everything else, we're last minute at getting things in this area. Sorry, my cat is fighting with my dog. Right. I rescued the water. So yeah, there's multiple issues out there with poverty, with services. So we need to be really strong locally, and locally we need to shout to this government until they listen. And it's appalling that only 7 votes were for a council freeze, because not everyone else in that council are rolling in money, I'm sure. So that's just appalling. It's just anti-Alba as far as I'm concerned. Anything that's not SNP, it's anti-Alba, my opinion.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Elaine. And we'll come to Bill Cowan.
Thanks, Elaine. I'm one of the payroll pensioners, as you might have guessed. Yeah, well, honestly, I am. My state pension is my only income, and I get a few benefits for being disabled and mobility and things like that. But they're all eaten up because my rent's nearly twice what my rental allowance is. So I'm in a situation just now where I'm managing to keep myself warm. I've got a nice wee house that I rent, and but my pension will go up about £300 this year. My power bills will go up over £1,000. My food bills will go up by several £100s. I'm too old to work unless I become a councillor. And even if I do become a councillor, I don't know, the wage is about 80 grand or something locally. But I'll lose about 5 grand in benefits. I get housing allowance and so I mean, I'd say I'd be working for 10 grand a year instead of 18 sort of thing, yeah. But I certainly know the money I'm in it for. But there's a lot of people like that in my age group that just they're wondered. They're terrified. So I'm not, because I can shout. I can shout. I can get in touch with chief executives at companies. In fact, I just got £300 back from my electricity company because there's a big credit balance. Because I always keep it in credit, but they had me 3 months in advance, and I said, well, no, I'll pay you the bill every quarter, but then they want to add 10% to the cost if they do that. So, but I did manage. I went to the chief executive. I got £300 back, so I've got that back. I'm still in credit on both gas and electricity. So, but that's me personally. But out and about and talking to anybody, no matter whether they're working, pensioners, disabled, whatever, they're all terrified of this power rise. It's untenable. People with good wages are scarce if you've got a family. It's what are you gonna do? Stop feeding the kids? Or no, that is the main issue everywhere. It's just totally beyond me how they can get away with it and not do anything. Locally though, as you asked, JB, there are issues here, of course. Locally, the Blaine and Bridge Island are wealthy towns by and large, although there's people here that use the food banks. I might not be far away from it myself eventually, you know. But there are poor pockets in every town, as you well know. So the appearance is that we're a very prosperous towns. And out of the 4 councillors, the 2 Tories will be elected straight away. First vote, no question. The SNP will get the 3rd one. It's the 4th one that's up for grabs. And that could be anybody. About 4 of the other candidates, 2 of them don't have a hope in hell, but 4 of us have a shout for that last 4 seats. So that's the position there. But locally, the big issues are the Park of Keir, Judy Murray's fantastic money-making idea on the green belt between the 2 towns, Dunblane and Bridgeallen. It was turned down initially by the council, and then there was an inquiry. It was turned down by that. Then finally turned by the council again. It was turned down. So although it's an SNP Labour council, good on them. They stopped it until it went to the Scottish government, and they passed it, overrode all the local issues. And that tends to be the main thing here. It's all NIMBY stuff. Any developments round about Dunblane or Bridgeallen, they're usually to build very cheap houses to sell very expensively. I'll do what I can. I mean, Judy Murray's got permission for 19 houses, all at £1 million on this estate. Initially, it was for 200 odd houses. That was turned down. So they went down to the minimum so it didn't have to provide social housing. But I would make it that they had to build social housing in that estate. Otherwise, it just becomes a wee millionaire's enclave. I mean, the tennis centre and all that, that'll go as soon as it can. And I can bet you any money that if the plans are detailed, that the infrastructure they're putting in is not just for 1 hotel and 19 houses. It'll be getting there for 200 odd houses, which they will eventually get to build. So that's a big issue. The roundabout, the Keir roundabout, which it'll feed out into, is already a mess at peak times. There's proposals for a flyover, a grade separation on the roundabout, which if you've ever experienced at a busy time, it's the end of the M9 motorway. That would be a priority, although I couldn't as a councillor directly. I could have influence, but it's not one of my decisions. It's a government decision. Other things, there's housing developments, a wee commercial development just north of town. They're building a truck stop, hotel, police station, and some houses and things like that. But the locals don't want it because it's down market. But it would provide a lot of local jobs, all right, not highly paid, but it would provide jobs. So these are the local issues that we have. I get angry at it because basically I've got red blood. Both my granddads were miners. My dad was a Bevan boy. So there's no really any doubt which side of politics I'm on. And that I feel comfortable in Alba with that. It's a party I feel at home with for most things. There's a couple of wee niggles, of course there is with any party. You can't just be 100% behind every policy. But I can live with anything. And especially the women's rights issue. I mean, I think I'm the only. We've got a group here, Alba Sisters. It's, I don't know, about 20 women on one of these things. What was that, WhatsApp or whatever? And I'm the only man in it. I'm an honorary woman, and it's not because I'm a trans or whatever. You know, it's in there because they trust me to push their issues, and I do regularly, very regularly on social media. I've got quite a big social media following on several accounts. And today, going back to that post that you put up about only vote SNP 1 and 2, I posted today on Facebook putting it up and the full article, because I tend to do that. I put the full article up because I think there's backdoors to newspapers, if you know what I mean. And it's in the public domain, so I'm not breaking any laws. So, but I also said it's a pretty poor show with the SNP, but despite that, I'll be voting number 1 Alba for myself, number 2 SNP, number 3 SNP, and number 4 Green, despite my misgivings, because I want independence. And that's much more important than any party. So that's basically where I stand on that one.
Thank you very much, Bill. Excellent. We'll come to Stuart McClintock, and one of the things in your ward should be the cost on the brown bins, by the way, just so you know.
That's actually on the leaflet. There's what I proposed in my leaflet is the brown bin charge, because for some reason East Ayrshire think it's great to charge people to recycle, which is bonkers. And there's also there's now a charge at the council, I think it's £39 for an uplift. So if you've got a washing machine outside your front door and you can't afford a car, you can't leave it in the street, obviously. They'll charge you for uplifting it, which is terrible. I think, one, to stop fly tipping, and two, for the cost of living, the council should do three uplifts, try saying that fast, a year per household, right? I just think it's a no-brainer. I mean, it's like it'll stop fly tipping, it'll improve the look of the area, you know, and it'll get people interacting with council services as well, right? But one of the things I'm noticing is the fuel thing, right? Now, quite a lot of my customers are unionists. I'm an electrician, I see a lot of people, right? And even they're beginning to, what's the word I'm looking for, be concerned about the state of the union. Do you know what I mean? The fact that the energy price is going up £400 or £500 now, and the same, maybe £700 in October, right? And when you explain to them that Scotland's energy rich, but we managed to know the increase in sort of the things, food banks. Do you know what I mean? It's like when you put that to them, it all kind of, as Tommy Shedden once said, it's about the pie or the cake, you know what I mean? Independence isn't being in the UK is about asking for a bit of somebody else's cake, right? Independence is about having your own cake and deciding what to do with it. You know, it's as simple as that. And the poverty for the food and the cost of living crisis is just resonating with people at the moment. That's what I find. It's just mainly that, you know, the council's not the worst council here. It's not too bad, but there's significant areas of improvement, like I've just said, you know. But the cost of living crisis is the main thing that people are concerning about, you know. And what Elaine said about smart meters, right? If you can avoid it, don't get a smart meter, right? Because they can actually cut you off. I don't know if people know this. Smart meters will do direct debit, and smart meters will do pay as you go, right? And I call Scottish Power Energy Networks out 3 times a month, and this is not confidential, but somebody I spoke to them about 8 or 9 years ago when I was starting to roll out smart meters, went to a house in Edinburgh, and he says to the chap, "Oh, your meter's blank, your smart meter's blank. I'll need to phone up." And the guy's like, his computer, "There you go. What'd you do there?" I says, "Watch this. 300 units forward, 300 units back." The Scottish Power guy's like, "How'd you do that?" He says, "I'm a software developer. So I know how to code these meters." And that was that. The guy from Scottish Power told me, he says, "I'll never get one of these. At least for a dumb meter, they're very reliable and it says what it says. The smart meters can be interfered with." You know what I mean? And they can also cut you off. So if you don't pay your bill, previously they would actually have to get a court order, get them in front of a sheriff, and get you cut off with payment meter. The smart meters, they just send you a wee payment card, a top-up thing for your phone, and that's you cut off after 2 weeks. And I know that Elaine does work with disabled people. My son's blind. If somebody's disabled and can't get to top it up, or they can't access the technology to top it up, it's against the law, the Disability Act, for them to actually have a payment meter. So that's something you can maybe talk to people on the doorsteps about. If you can't top up your meter, if you're infirm, you can't get out of the house, they can actually put in a standard meter or force the smart meter to go dumb. They can do that, right? So that's a wee sideline that I thought I'd mention anyway. Okay.
Thanks very much, Stuart. Right, we're going to come to Trish next, and then we'll go to Lee last.
So I think the biggest concern in my ward, as far as I'm concerned, is energy security and job security, because of course my ward includes St Fergus, and there is the option for carbon capture, which you'll have heard about. Scotland had a bid in for that, and Westminster refused it and instead put 2 of them to England. One of them apparently on quite a difficult site. Now in St Fergus, the reason we came up here 30 odd years ago was because they were so advanced at anything energy, you know, whether it's wind, but we've got plenty of wind, too much wind. Wave, we've got plenty of wave. When I look out my back door, I can see the wind turbines going round, and that produces pretty much 100% of the electricity that we need in Scotland. So we are entirely self-sufficient in electricity. But at the moment, in Scotland, we're paying more for our standing charge than they do in London by quite a big extent, even though we are fully self-sufficient. So we're subsidising the UK. And as far as gas is concerned, we've got about 5 times self-sufficient in gas, the gas that we need in Scotland. So we've got all that we need, and then another 4 times. 25% of our gas is exported to Europe. So I can literally feel the power surging under my feet and going off to Westminster to pay for HS2, Queen's Jubilee, painting Big Ben. What do we get from it? Nothing. Nothing.
No.
I'll tell you what we get from it. This is what I've got from, this is a bill that I received in June 2020, which was just in the start of the pandemic. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that?
I can't, Trish, but what you could do is you could take a picture of it and send it to me, and what I'll do is I'll cut it through as you're speaking, okay?
Okay. Well, what the bill says is we're off the gas grid here, even though I can see the flames from the terminal from my back door. We don't actually have the benefit of gas piped to our house. Now remember, it was Alex Salmond that connected all the small villages around here. It was him that pushed to have a gas connection rurally for all the little villages around here. So St Fergus itself, a lot of nice houses in St Fergus, they didn't previously have gas, even though they had the gas terminal. But he stepped in and acted on behalf of the people and made sure that the small villages were connected to the gas main and were able to get fuel. It didn't quite extend to my house because I think possibly at the time the person that had my house didn't want to pay the connection charge. It had been free apparently to start with, and then the electricity companies imposed a minimal charge for a full-time connection, and it was up to the householder whether they could or wanted to afford that. So in the case of my house, they obviously opted out of that. So the only heating I have here is oil. So this bill is from June 2020, which was a few months into the pandemic, but it tells me that my burning oil was 26 pence per litre. That I'm speaking about June 2020.
Wow.
Yeah. So for filling up my oil tank, which would last me about 3 months, it was £228. Now, fast forward to this year, 18 months later, and this is the other bill that I've got that I'm hold up, I'll send it through to you. And it tells you that the unit price there of oil is 89.8 pence per litre. Now, I've gone up again. So it means that filling up my tank cost me £1,028. So that's what, four times the amount in a year and a half. Of course, oil is unregulated. It's never been regulated. They could always make it whatever price they want. Unlike gas, which has had the cap on it up until very recently, oil never has had. So I can only imagine what price it's going to go up to. We live in it's cold up here. I mean, we've not got granite walls for nothing. It's very cold, and of course, like everybody in Scotland, we're much more reliant on our fuel to keep warm and to keep healthy. And to think that we've got all this, literally I see it as gold running under our feet, going away off to fill a big purse that London has got, that it can be so generous to the southeast of England with, while we freeze, starve. I read about a girl recently who bought a roast chicken meal. She got it reduced in the supermarket for £2 because she had to watch her money. And her father said she was on a prepayment meter, but to cook the meal, it cost her £11 for the cost of fuel.
It's mad.
But we can do something about it. You know, Alex Salmon tells you, and the Alba Party tell you in the Wee Blue Book, they've consulted the experts. There's no need for us to live like this in Scotland. None.
No,
we need to get out of this union, and we need someone who's got the cajoles to get up and do what we've already instructed them to do. Get us out of this.
We've mandated repeatedly. Aye, thanks very much for that at the minute. Trish, we'll come to Lee. The reason I've left you to last on this one, Lee, is I'm going to ask you to go first on the next one so that you get a chance to give a full and frank answer that other people can copy. So over to you for just to answer the issues in your ward at the minute.
Thank you, Peter. Much the same as the issues that all the other candidates have outlined, as Trish very eloquently outlined there in the summation of the energy crisis. And indeed, it is a crisis. Trish mentioned that it felt like gold running under our feet and being shuttled down to Westminster. Well, we've had oil that's been sold off and we've not had the benefit from it. And now our energy is being sold off and we're not feeling the benefit from it as well. Most of us here tonight represent or aim to represent areas in Aberdeenshire. Aberdeenshire is a rural local authority. And although ostensibly we are quite an affluent part of the country, or people view us as being quite an affluent part of the country, one of the things that, or one of the problems we often have is poverty, but hidden poverty. And that could manifest itself in issues such as fuel poverty. I mean, as other people have said, it's absolutely ridiculous that we're energy rich in Scotland, yet 1 in 3 of our residents live in fuel poverty. It's scandalous. But in Aberdeenshire in particular, it's very easy for poverty to go unseen, and that makes it much more difficult to tackle. So I think some of the measures that we've outlined in terms of the 5-point plan will really gain a lot of traction and resonance across the northeast. You know, in my ward, for example, in areas like Johnshaven and Inverbervie, again, ostensibly wealthy areas, they've got food banks. And although they weren't caused by the pandemic, because the food banks were already established before the pandemic hit, one of the things the pandemic did inevitably was exacerbate the need. And of course, the rising energy bills now will exacerbate that even further. So as we've all said, I think poverty is one of the key issues in this election. Energy and the cost of energy is one of the key issues. But one of the other things I'll also add into the mix, and Brian will appreciate this being a fellow councillor, is local infrastructure and how we fund local authorities, because it's fast becoming completely unsustainable. Every year we're presented with a round of cuts and offerings and solutions that officers present us that may be acceptable for us to cut or for us to consider cutting in that year. Now, as every year goes by, you can cut a little bit more and cut a little bit more, but there comes a point, and I think not only are we there now, I think we've already passed the stage where it's incredibly serious, that there comes a point where there is no more meat left to be cut. We are now looking at situations in Aberdeenshire where we're having to relook at statutory obligations that we can no longer meet because there clearly isn't enough funding for us to do so. So raising council tax is one of the few levers we have at this moment in time. As Brian and I have outlined, that was the wrong thing to do. So we called for a fully costed council tax freeze that, in our opinion, should have come from the Scottish Government. But failing that, we need to look at new ways of funding local authorities. the council tax system as it stands is not fit for purpose. It's not bold enough. It's not imaginative enough. It doesn't give enough money to local authorities. So we need to look at alternatives. We passed a proposal delegating a group to look at this at the recent party conference. And we just need to be a bit bolder with our ideas and bolder with our vision. Because if we can't fund local authorities properly, then it's a really sad state of affairs, because people rely largely on local authorities to deliver the bread and butter issues that people really care about. Potholes, for example. Our local infrastructure, our local roads in Aberdeenshire are in a scandalous state of affairs right now. We need proper funding for local authorities to really deliver for local people.
Thank you very much, Lee. Right, John, me and you, we'll get back on here, replace the pin. And add. Right, what does he think of that round, the answers?
Yeah, it's all perfectly correct what they're saying. It's horrific in this day and age where these people, particularly living in Aberdeen, they can look at a window and see an oil rig or a gas rig, basically, miles to them, and yet that power's not benefiting them. It's getting sucked down to London. And London, they get their standing charge increased by 38%, and Scotland up 100%. And yet we're within the energies generated. And remember what the Tories have recently said as well. They see the UK as the Saudi Arabia of renewable energy. Again, that's all, and they talked about having large reserves of gas and oil. All in Scotland, of course, mostly in Scotland, but they're claiming it for themselves. And what they rely upon is the apathy and indifference of the Scottish voters not to pick up and say, wait a minute, what are we getting out of this? We're getting shafted. Well, they're robbing us blind, but they rely on ignorance and indifference, and that's what's keeping them being able to do what they're doing. If the Scottish people would just get together and say, no, this belongs to us, we're getting the benefit of it first, and it belongs to Scotland. You've been screwing us for 300 years. That belongs to us. That's going to go and help towards the people, the ordinary working people, kids, disabled, everybody that needs it should get it. You shouldn't be starving to death or freeze in this country when they shower thieves down there are getting away with it. I mean, look at that slimy Sunak. He's like a greased olive. He actually is mind he's got a green card. So as far as not to get a green card, you've got to swear an allegiance to a foreign country. And his wife, very kindly, even though she's richer than the Queen, has decided to pay some more tax. Well, bravo for paying a wee bit more tax then, but you get away with it for donkey's years and you're richer than the sodden Queen. It's horrific what these gets get away with. And they only change it because they've been exposed. They're not doing it out the goodness of their heart. They're doing it because they're a shower of shysters. And it's horrific how we're getting shafted by the law. But they do it because they can get away with it, Peter. And that's what makes me sick. They look at us as a sustenance herd. That's all we are to them. Something to be used and abused. And the day has got to come where we've got to stop it. But we need to get off our arse and stop being so apathetic to what their doing is and take control of it. Simple as that, Peter.
Aye, absolutely. Right, we've got to do a wee screen share here, right? Because just what you were talking about, I had lined up anyway. This was Mr. Sunak, or this was the American.
Yeah, I know her. Not personally, right? But I've seen her.
I just know for the news, but this was her take on it.
The UK reported that Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rishi Sunak, had a U.S. green card which he surrendered this past October. He's been an MP since 2015, and USCIS manual says that serving in a foreign government or standing for election in a foreign government is not compatible with lawful permanent resident status. Why was this not flagged earlier?
I would point you to the State Department or the Department of Homeland Security. I don't have any more comment from here.
I mean, is it a problem? Does the president see it as a problem that possible for someone to serve at a high level in a foreign government and maintain lawful permanent resident status in the U.S.? I mean, what if this were someone who was serving in the Russian Duma?
It wasn't. But I would also, again, point you to the portions of the government that oversee green cards and oversee, the status of documents. I'm happy to bump it for them as well and see if there's more we can provide to you.
Right, so we'll stop that share there. That was it getting announced in America. Now, the thing that annoys me and bothers me about it, maybe, they were talking about his wife got to have to pay so many millions of pounds.
There's a non-dom.
Because of the non-dom status. But his job, he's a multi-millionaire, and the job's worth £150,000 a year. And then you've got a green card issue with America. There's a lot more to it, obviously, that we're not aware of, right? But that's sidetracking us, right? Just before we finish up, because this will be the last question, and your chance to put your message out, why people should vote for you. So we'll start with Lee in this occasion because Lee's been last, and we'll work our way backwards the way that we've operated. And the question is, it's a really simple question, and some of the people have already answered it, but we would like a full and frank answer to this question before giving your vote for me message. And the question is, what is a woman? So we'll come through it. First of all, we'll go to Councillor Lee Wilson. Let me put you on the main screen. Oh, I need to take us off.
Yeah, you asked, Peter, what is a woman? The answer is adult human female. No more embellishments required.
Thank you. And why should people vote for you in the 5th of May, Lee?
People should vote for me because I've got a record of delivering for my ward in Aberdeenshire, and I've got a vision of what to do for the next 5 years. More generally, I think people should vote for Alba candidates because Alba candidates are prioritising independence. In fact, they're the only candidates who are prioritising fully independence in this election. So I think we'll have a good election. I think we'll upset the odds to a certain extent. And I think we're in for a few surprises on election night. So yes, vote for me, number one, vote for your Alba candidate, number one, and vote for other pro-independence candidates with your further preferences.
Thank you very much, Lee, and good luck on the 5th of May. We're going to move now to Trish Macpherson. We're going to work it backwards. So, sorry, the answer was a woman and why people should vote for you.
So the answer to what is a woman is an adult human female. As others have said, there is no other ifs and buts. A woman is an adult human female.
Thank you very much, Trish. And why should folk vote for you on the 5th of May?
Folks should vote for me on the 5th of May because I am just like them. I've not got a career in politics to worry about. I'm standing for election because I believe in honesty and integrity, and I think it's really important that people are honest. You know, I won't promise people that I can do something that I can't, and I'll be able to recognise the troubles that they have, and I will fight my hardest, as I've always done, to make sure that they get a fair share, a fair crack at the whip, and also that when they're building schools in Aberdeenshire, I would like to be able to be the person that says single-sex changing rooms, single-sex toilets. That's important for teenage girls, and I'll do my utmost to make sure that happens.
Thank you very much, Trish. We'll come over to Stuart McClintock. Stuart, what is a woman and why should people vote for you on the 5th of May?
A woman, believe it or not, is an adult human female. Right, I know it's a bit of a revelation to some people, but it is. Right, people should vote for me because, let's put it this way, I'm not an assimilate. I will do what I think is right for my local area. Right, one of my customers used to work in Chief Executive's office. Right, she's a unionist, but she's a lovely woman. Right, and she said to me she would love to have been working there if somebody like me was a councillor, because she says I would ask the awkward questions and upset the apple cart if I thought it was good for my local area. And that's what a councillor should do. A councillor should be able to stand up for the local area and ask the awkward questions and expect answers from the ruling parties at the council. Vote Alba, yes. And Cowan South, Stuart McClintock. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stuart. And we'll move now to Bill Cowan.
Okay.
What is a woman and why should people vote for you, Bill?
A woman is an adult human female. And it's an adult human male, thank God for that. It's one of my main priorities will be trying to protect women's rights in as much as we can in the position we're in as councillors. I think it's the most burning issue today, and it's all down to some daft wee laddies based at Stirling University, who's just out of the hill for me here, that are loud, they're noisy, and they're really, really nasty. No, I'll do what I can. I've got a long experience in politics, although not actually having been elected. In fact, I joked when Alex Salmond was down here last Thursday, a week ago on Thursday, when I was up speaking, I said to Alec that he'd been started off much the same time as I did in the early 70s in SNP. And then when he moved to Alba, I moved to Alba, and that he got back up and he says, "Well, it was me that followed Bill Cowan into the SNP and then into Alba." And I was the butt of the jokes for half the night with him, which was fine. It went down well. We might get a video eventually, but no, I'll do what I can. I've vowed to listen to local people on developments, which I think has been sorely lacking. There's two camps and everything, but the majority of the people generally go the one way and a small minority go the other way, but I'll listen to everybody from any side and take forward the sort of consensus as much as I can. The issues are Park of Care, like I said, if it's still possible to amend the policy, the findings and the planning, I'll do as much as I can. Other local developments, the closure of Bridge Allen Railway Station and the closure of the last bank in Dunblane. Our nearest bank's now Stirling, and you can't get parked anywhere near it unless you pay to park. Yeah. So these are the main things that I'll take forward. They'll all be in my leaflet when it goes out next week, and hopefully, I hope people will vote for me.
Thank you very much, Bill. Right, now we're moving back to Elaine Mitchell. Elaine, over to you.
Thank you.
I'll put you on whenever you're ready.
Okay, well, as I've said already, as a midwife of over 30 years, I've been with women most of my career, and a woman is an adult female human being. And I would ask people to consider what you've had in the last 5 years in my ward, because I see what was promised wasn't delivered by any of the candidates. So I ask you to trust in someone who's given their whole career to helping others, to look past the party politics, to look past the bickering, and to actually take what the person is saying that is the most genuine representative for your area, because I'm there to stand for everyone within the ward. So vote Elaine Mitchell, number 1. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elaine. You've just got time to nip away and get the bagpipes, but well, Brian and Hingsley's going to answer. Right, Brian's just moved away from his... Oh, he's back, right. Okay. I was just going to shout at you there, mate, as you walked away. Right, Brian, so it's over to you to answer what is a woman and why people should vote for you on the 5th of May.
Yes, thank you. I just put a wee bit of light on the subject. It was getting a bit dark here. Probably because it's difficult to pay an electric bill. Yeah, could I say, obviously, a woman, to me, quite clearly, is an adult human female. And thank goodness for that. And we've got to do all we can to protect women's rights 100%. And I think the more that women are hearing about what is planned, they're getting very concerned. The reason people should vote for me, I've been a councillor 38 years. I'm as dedicated and committed to my ward and my constituents as I was when I was first elected in 1984. I give 100%. I get things done. I actually chair the Fraser Regeneration Development Partnership, which has seen numerous shops get grants to improve the frontage of their shops. Buildings have been done up. We're going through the public realm works, which is doing up the town centre. As I say, we've given grants to a local group, the Fraser Skate Group, and they've actually the small grant we gave them is actually, and all the fundraising they've done, they've actually going to have a state-of-the-art skate and wheel sports park, which will draw people from as far as Aberdeen and further than that. We actually recently won the Scottish Surf Awards for the best improved town in the whole of Scotland. And again, as chairman of the Regeneration Development Partnership, exceptionally proud of that. As I say, I used to be on community radio for 20 years, and I chair a local safety group who have worked hard to provide defibrillators throughout the town and some of the villages. I'm involved in so many things, you know, delivering care packs for 18 months. I do reading, various things. I'm chairman of the local supporters club of Fraserburgh, who are top of the Highland League. One game to go, and we could be in a playoff with Bonnyrigg Rose. But we'll wait till next Saturday. But yes, as I tell a lot of people, a lot of the things that I do, it's not what you read in the press or TV. The things that I do and gives me most satisfaction is actually helping individuals, helping families, supporting local schools. So as I say, it's not the things that you actually see or some of the fantastic things that over the years I've actually provided. You know, it's actually helping individuals. Even today, I was seeing a number of people, you know, both young and old. So helping people, getting things done, being honest, being truthful, as I say, and I think people hopefully will vote for Alba. It's a new party, a party of great ideas for independence. So please, you know, vote for Brian Toppin, number 1, vote Alba.
Thank you very much, Brian. And last but by no means least, we'll go to Charlotte Cross. So Charlotte, just to answer, what is a woman and why should people vote for you on the 5th of May?
Well, a woman is an adult human female. I would know I am one. I think people should vote for me because I share things in common with the people in my ward, which is mostly being in poverty, disability rights, energy poverty, food poverty. I really think that people would like to see somebody that's just like them running for a councillor, you know, for the right reasons. I think some people get, you know, government jobs for the wrong reasons, as we see with Sunak and stuff. And I think, I think there should be more local, like the candidates we have here, you know, people who know what it's like to suffer in life. So please vote Alba for all of your candidates. Because I think we have a good shot this time. I think we're getting through to people. So
thank you so much, Charlotte. Right, we've got Trish with a raised hand. Trish, did you mean to raise your hand?
Sorry. Yes, I did mean to raise. Yes, I did.
Right, okay. So I'll put you up. Where did you move to? I'll put you on the main screen then, as soon as you've got a question.
Okay. It wasn't really a question as such that I wanted to bring up, Peter. It was just a wee plug for an event that we're having up here. We're going to be having Kenny McCaskill MP come up to St Fergus. He's going to be doing one of the launches of the wee Alba book. Every single page of it is packed full of thoughtful, well-considered ideas for a better, healthier, wealthier Scotland and everybody here. If people fancy coming along to hear what Kenny's got to say, they can come along about 5 p.m. to St Fergus Beach, and they'll see some lovely Scottish sand art being done. We've got a guy coming up who's going to do a nice carving in the sand. And after that, we'll be up to St Fergus Hall and Hall Road, St Fergus, where we will be piped in by a young boy from the village. Josh, he's going to get his bagpipes out. He went as a 10-year-old over to play in the Scotland Day in New York City when he was 10 years old. Cracking wee lad, so he's going to come along and give us some entertainment. Then we'll have Kenny, who'll speak to us about carbon capture and the opportunities that Scotland has there, so close to it. He'll speak about EFTA for the benefits of the fishing community, how we can determine our own regulations. The green jobs transition, he'll be speaking about that. We've seen enough of decimated industries across Scotland, and it's about time that people got behind the Alba party and started standing up for themselves, because Alba stands for Scotland.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Trish. Right, so let's get myself and JB back on the screen for a wee second before we finish up. Right, buddy. Right, so we've had the Magnificent Seven, Seven Up, whatever you want to say. What's your overall thoughts before we finish up? You're on mute, buddy. You're on mute. You're on mute. You need to.
Right, there we go. Yeah, they've all been very impressive, and it's heartening to see that people are putting their head above the parapet. Just ordinary working people want the best for their communities and Scotland, so that's refreshing. And as Charlotte said, there's so many people who are in political jobs to make money and for status, and they shouldn't be there because they're not for the working people. So it's heartening to see these people, ladies and gentlemen, are doing their best for Scotland, and I commend them all, and I wish them all the very best. And up the Tories, red or blue.
Right, well, JB, I'm going to just change the view. I'm going to put everybody on the screen here. Right, so I want to say thanks very much to everybody for taking part this evening. Elaine, Councillor Brian Toppin, Bill Cowan, Charlotte Cross, Stuart McClintock, Trish Macpherson, and Councillor Lee Wilson. Sorry, Elaine Mitchell, I forgot your surname. I didn't say your surname there, Elaine. Just thanks very much for taking part this evening. Good luck on the 5th of May. If we can promote anything that you're doing, I heard a lot of you talking about leaflets, etc. If you've got leaflets, I've got yours already, Brian, but anybody else who's got leaflets, Lee, I've got yours as well. If you DM them to me, what I'll do is I'll cut them through as I'm doing the edit of this broadcast. If we can help you out with any promoting that you're doing, any campaigning that you're doing, I know obviously we can't be in the places that you are, but be putting out messages. Please send us a DM. I'll promote it on any podcast that I'm doing. If you're going to places like Trish has just done there for Wednesday, send them to us and I'll put them in my broadcast for the podcast, so that it gives you a wee bit of advertisement as well. And people may or may not, you might get a couple of wee people showing up that wouldn't have been there otherwise. But good luck for Tweet Street. Lee, yes, if you've got something you want to come in on there, mate.
Yeah, I have another shameless plug very briefly. Alex Salmond is coming to my hometown Inverbervie on Friday the 15th of April, this Friday at 7:30 to do a wee Alba Book Roadshow event. So any promotion would be gratefully received.
Thank you very much. If it's on your page, I'll pick it up and I'll put it through this podcast. Elaine, yes, on you go.
Can I plug as well then? Alex Salmond is coming to my patch on the 22nd of April in the afternoon. So we're having a mass leaflet in Kemney and a street stall, hopefully weather permitting. Thanks.
Excellent.
And thanks for having us on.
Oh, you're welcome. Bill, you got something you want to say, mate?
Aye, I'm going to say Alex been and gone in Stirling, and it was a tremendously successful night. It was a magnificent forum with a full hall, over 100 people there. And Ted Christopher finished up the night with a couple of songs, Caledonia and Scots Wahey. It was really well run by my colleagues in the Alba, the Stirling Lacu, and I had a great time as well. So,
well, I look forward to, because I believe there might be some footage of that. I wasn't able to attend though, but I believe there might be some footage, so I'm looking forward to when that footage comes out.
I saw that.
Right, well, for this evening then, thanks sincerely from the bottom of our hearts for joining us this evening, and good luck on the 5th of May. If we can do anything for you at Tweet Street, drop us a DM and we'll put it out whatever we can to try and help you out. And I must say, a big thanks to Dawn. I think most of you will know who Dawn is. The Aberdeenshire ones will know who Dawn is, because Dawn's been the one that's been contacting me on behalf of Brian and Lee and Elaine and Charlotte as well. But although I'd contacted Charlotte when I seen her separately. So if somebody can pass on to Dawn, thanks very much for speaking with us as well. And I'll say good night for this evening for Tweed Street Scotland Occupied, for Cinnamon Bridges, for JB Whitesnake, for Elaine Mitchell, for Councillor Brian Toppin, for Bill Cowan, for Charlotte Cross, for Trish Macpherson, for Councillor Lee Wilson, and for Stuart McClintock. For all of the Alba party and all of the Alba candidates, good luck on the 5th of May. Stuart, you've got 4 votes for this house, mate. All you need to do is show up, buddy. And we'll say good night, everybody.
Good night. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very
Good
much.
night, Peter. Thank